Welcome to the third round of the BRSCC Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. It's Cadwell Park this weekend, and with me is Championship Coordinator Nick Hull. Nick, it's cold, but definitely exciting up here.
Yeah, it's definitely cold. Yeah, in comparison to Silverstone a couple of weekends ago, it's positively Baltic, isn't it?
Right. Well, this weekend we're obviously well into the season now, and there's an amazing array of technical people behind the scenes who are getting you guys out on track in both the Boxster and the 924 class. And really, the championship wouldn't operate without these guys giving you all the technical support you guys need.
No, that's completely true. The sponsors, without the sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So, a big thank you to Toyo Tires again this year, Jasmine Porsche, Hartech, Royal Purple, Rock Oil, Warside Electrical and Ryan Insurance for backing us again this year. It means a lot and helps all the drivers in the championship.
And in terms of the way that the paddock is moving in 2017, all this technical support behind the scenes, the new aero that we've got on the cars this year, it's making for such an incredible complete package for racing drivers to come and play with.
Yeah, and it's been really interesting because, the aero package on the Boxsters, I imagined it would slow the cars down, especially with a big wing on the back. But this year it seems that we're breaking lap records that stood. So it's obviously faster, which is brilliant. And it makes the cars more stable, quicker through the corners. So it's brilliant. It's good for everybody.
You've had a couple of podiums already this season, so I'm guessing you'd like another one here this weekend as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to obviously trying to get on the podium. Yeah, it's hard. There's some bloody good drivers. We haven't got many cars, but the drivers that we've got are brilliant. So it's a task sometimes, but I'm going to have a good go at it.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Nick. We know you've got to get to the starting grid. I've got to get up to the commentary box. So while we both do that, let's check back on what's been happening in the season so far. After a successful double-header of victories at Alton Park, Ed Hayes, championship leader, came to Silverstone hopeful of more success. But one weakness once again reared its head: the start. Hayes has struggled to get off the line so far this year, which has seen him drop as low as 6th position by turn 1. That should give drivers such as Adam Southgate and Richard Avery plenty to be confident about. But the close quarters nature of the racing in 2017 means that try as they might, they just can't pull away. Southgate in particular has been mightily impressive in terms of pace and speed, but consistency is where he's lacking. At Cadwell Park, he's hoping that can change. Ed Hayes, meanwhile, makes up in racecraft what he lacks in get up and go. His overtaking prowess makes it look ever so easy out on the track, but at Silverstone, he had wide open spaces to get the moves done. At Cadwell Park, he won't. In the 924 class, many drivers have taken a step forward, such as Ryan Lowry and Peter Smith, but the ever-consistent Gavin Johnson leads the standings coming into Cadwell, with teammate Pip Hammond unbeaten at Silverstone and reigning Boxster champion Rick Styron taking the Alton Park victories in a one-off appearance. It was great to see Richard Avery back to his best after mechanical gremlins at Alton Park were finally put to sleep, but ultimately neither he nor Southgate could build a gap, and once Hayes caught them up, he would not be denied. He nailed first Southgate at the Vale chicane, and then just a lap later, he made mincemeat of Richard Avery at Stowe Corner to seal a straight run of 5 wins out of 5. But with dodgy starts still an issue, can he be beaten at Cadwell Park? At least we know that Adam Southgate and Richard Avery are going to be up to the task to try, but Ed Hayes is unbeaten so far in 2017. It's game on at Cadwell for somebody to catch him. Well, Hayes and Southgate share the front row of the starting grid, 0.06 of a second between them on the front row. Avery and Lawrence are on row 2, with Kevin Molyneux and Nick Hull on the 3rd. Andrew Porter lines up beside Alex Stocker, while Philip Churchill takes up P9. In the 924s, Pip Hammond and Ryan Lowry share the front row, with Peter Smith and championship leader Gavin Johnson beside each other. Andrew Pritchard has Jason Wood with him, and Andrew Baker and Matthew Harris have a race on in the production class. Red lights on here at Cadwell. Let's race. It's Cadwell Park and away we go. And Hayes has got a flyer. Hayes has got a good start for a change, and Avery's going with him. Lawrence has got a good one too. Southgate is bogging down as they run to Coppice for the first time. So through to the lead goes Hayes. Avery's second. We're on board with him. Gary Lawrence is trying to come through into 3rd position, and I think he's got there. So up towards Charlie's. Through the right-hander. Narrow circuit this. You've got to be so careful on the opening lap. But Lawrence has made it through to third position. Fourth is Southgate, then it's Stocker, Hull, Molyneux. Churchill is struggling to hold off the attentions of Hammond and Lowry, who are almost side by side on the run up Park Straight. We're on board with Ryan Lowry, waiting for his opportune moment, gesticulating in the car as he tries to move his way further forward. He seems happy with things at the moment. They fly up through Chris Curve and they will drop down to the gooseneck in a moment. Ryan Lowry losing the car slightly as they go through Chris Curve. But somehow he manages to keep the car in a straight line. So tight, so twisty here. They call this the mini Nürburgring, and it's no surprise why. Through the gooseneck, dropping down the hill to Mansfield, and Hammond is already starting to get into the Porsche Boxster of Churchill, and he goes through. Hammond so quick in 2017. Ryan Lowry looks like he's going to go with him as they go on the short stretch. Oh, running out of space as he makes his way to the mountain. But Lowry goes through. That was brave from Ryan Lowry, and he makes the move stick as they go up the mountain. We're on board with Peter Smith. It's his turn to go for Churchill next. But this is a really tricky part of the circuit. All bends, right, left. Very tricky as the leaders in the Porsche Boxsters are going through Barn onto the main straight once again. Drop down the hill. An amazing circuit this, so picturesque, right in the heart of Lincolnshire. And an amazing venue for motor racing. It was used, of course, to film the Hollywood epic Rush. And it's been an absolutely incredible addition to BRSCC events in recent years. Richard Avery trying to keep up with Ed Hayes, but look, Hayes is disappearing. Avery goes very hard in there. That is the number 4 of Kevin Molyneux, chasing down our championship coordinator, Nick Hull. Nick Hull still chasing that second position. He's had many, many thirds, but he wants a top 2 finish. Avery, Lawrence and Southgate all ahead of him to make that happen so far. But Southgate struggling. This is a bit of a different playbook. Usually it's Hayes that struggles at the start. He got an absolute superb getaway this time. Here he comes, down out of the gooseneck, drops down the hill towards Mansfield, that tight left-hander. And Avery, Lawrence and Southgate all together. Then it's Stocker in front of Hull and Molyneux. Andrew Porter is there in P8. Great battle so far in the early stages here at Cadwell Park, but this is very important for Southgate. He's down in 4th position, stuck behind Lawrence, and he needs to get through. In terms of qualifying, there was barely anything to choose between him and Ed Hayes. Hayes was only 0.06 of a second quicker than Southgate in qualifying, but that just shows you how important it is to get a good start as they work their way through Hall Bends, through the right, through the left, through the right, through the left, and down towards the hairpin. Very tight corner this. One of the slowest in British motorsport. Then they come through Barn, which is quicker than you think it is, but you've got to line it up right, and both drivers do. So Gary Lawrence onto the main straight, chasing down Richard Avery, who is slowly seeing Ed Hayes pull away out in front, and it could be 6 out of 6 for him. Meanwhile, Alex Stocker is having a good scrap with Nick Hull as they fly through Coppice. On board with Ryan Lowry, that's Pip Hammond ahead, slowly stretching out a gap. But Lowry isn't focused on him. He's looking behind him to see where third place man Gavin Johnson is. He's a long way back. So Gavin Johnson still looking to get some consistent points from this weekend. But this man, Pip Hammond, has been unbeatable unless Rick Styron's been on the grid. Only Alton Park did he lose out. Of course, he famously spun on the last lap when he went wide at Old Hall and tapped the barrier. And then he came second to Rick Styron in the second race. But ever since then, Pip Hammond has won everything bar the raffle. 3 wins at Silverstone, and he's hoping for 2 here at Cadwell Park. Richard Avery back on board as they go through Mansfield, down at the bottom of the drop. And they go straight on here. There is a chicane, but it's not being used this weekend, as you can see. So the Porsches work their way through. Now that's Southgate still on the back of Gary Lawrence. We're on board with Richard Avery. Look how tough it is over the mountain. You almost get airborne at the top of the crest as Avery goes through Hall Bends. Right, left, plenty of curb. The next right and the next left. A very tough section of corners. And here's the battle for 5th position. Stocker, Hull and Molyneux. They get very close to each other through the Hall Bends. Visually spectacular watching these cars desperately try to nail the apexes through that 4-corner combination of S's as Stocker goes through Barn. Hull is in 6th position, Kevin Molyneux is 7th, but watch out behind because it looks as though Andrew Porter hasn't given up yet. He's still giving them a charge. He pushes on, trying to gain a little bit more speed as they go up the hill. There's Philip Churchill. He's the new boy this weekend in the Porsche Boxster. But But the 924s with a lot more experience are trying to show their flair. Here's Peter Smith, we're on board with him now. What a great turnaround this has been for Smith. He's now in third position in front of Gavin Johnson. So Peter Smith looking for his first podium of 2017. Up the hill once again. Stocker, Hull, Molyneux looking for an opportunistic moment to get through. And there's a few spots of rain in the air, as you can see on the camera lens. That makes it very tricky round Cadwell. As long as it doesn't go into a deluge, the drivers should have enough grip round here to not have too much of an issue. But it's that psychological rain that's going to cause an issue as Hull starts to think about Stocker. Molyneux swarming all over the back of him, and as they continue to battle, Andrew Porter is getting ever closer. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, that's how close it is as they work their way down out of the chicane section. They've left Mansfield behind, they go into the mountain, into the left-hander. Hull starting to have a look at Stocker. He has to shut the door quickly to keep Kevin Molyneux from coming through. Up the crest, up the mountain, down the short stretch past the paddock, through Hall Bends. Right, left, and here are the leaders again. Richard Avery in 2nd place, Lawrence 3rd, Southgate 4th. So difficult to overtake here at Cadwell Park. Ed Hayes doesn't need to worry about it. He's got plenty of room out front. So Hayes continues his charge in the lead of the race here at Cadwell Park. And as they go through Coppice once again, we're back on board with Richard Avery. Looking good for 2nd position here. That will be his best result of 2017 if he can just hang on to it. Out through Charlie's and up Park Straight once again. This is going to be a tough one, but Southgate is not giving up on Gary Lawrence. He wants to make the move stick, and he's going to charge after him. Intimidation is the name of the game at Cadwell Park. You've got to be so on it. And now the wipers are coming on. Maybe the rain is going to cause an issue here at Cadwell Park. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. That's Gary Lawrence having dropped down to 4th position. The battle for 5th still going on, and that's Kevin Molyneux. Molyneux loses it. Just goes a little bit too wide of the hairpin. He keeps it out of the barriers, though. That's really important, so he won't be too badly damaged there. He gets it going again. Matthew Harris has to wait for him to correct it. He waves him on. He waves on Matthew Harris. Don't ruin your race on my account, mate. Very sportsmanlike for Matthew Harris to wait for Kevin Molyneux to get his car going again, but it comes to a complete stop in the process. Now that leaves the 5th position battle to continue between Alex Stocker and Nick Hull as they go through Park up towards Chris Curve. Still going very well indeed for these two as they battle away, but Gary Lawrence is now the car in front of them. Not sure what happened to let Southgate through, but Southgate is now well in truly into 3rd position behind Avery. There's Pip Hammond, the local boy, having a great run here at Cadwell Park. He said that 3 wins out of 3 at Silverstone was boring last time out. It's impossible to be bored around Cadwell Park. You've got too much to do. We're right on board with the 71. BDC racing driver trying to get the lead back in the championship race off his teammate Gavin Johnson. Nick Hull trying to get into P5 has got the lights on. He's trying to outfox Alex Stocker. If I blind you, maybe you'll make a mistake, mate. And he's swarming all over the place to try and get through. Through the right, through the left at all bends. Through the right and left again for the exit of that combination and down to the hairpin. This is where Molyneux lost it a lap ago. But there's Lawrence in 4th. Stocker, Hull, and now Andrew Porter close in behind them. He'll want to try and make a move if he can get close enough to them. And if they keep battling, he's going to get there. Nick Hull goes right, goes left, goes right again, does he? Yep, he's trying to put Alex Stocker off. He goes left again. He is trying every trick in the book to put Alex Stocker off. Now we're back on board with the treble 1 of Brian Lowry, having a great weekend here at Cadwell Park as he approaches the mountain, looking for another podium finish. Looking for 2nd place at this point. Now here comes the battle for 5th position once again. Stocker and Hull. The rain is getting heavier and Hull is going to make the move side by side up the Park Straight. Is there going to be enough room? They squeeze each other. They actually nudge each other up the straight. But Nick Hull's on the inside and surely through into Park Corner. Yes, he does. So Alex Stocker has to drop back into 6th position, and that means that Andrew Porter is now going to charge after him. But the rain is getting heavier here at Cadwell. It's not heavy, but it's enough that it's going to put drivers off if they're not concentrating, as Pip Hammond makes the move on Matthew Harris to lap him. Production Boxsters, not a bad way to get started in the sport of BRSCC Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. They call those Production Boxsters the full fat in this paddock. They are basically road standard with a roll cage and a few other tweaks. So it's a great way to get started. Likewise with the 924s. I actually drove one of these at Alton Park at the start of the season. They are amazing little racing cars. Meanwhile, these guys are the fast boys. The Porsche Boxsters with their new front splitter, new rear wing. The aero makes the cars a lot quicker, much more mechanical grip, and the lap records are tumbling this year as a result. But that's Nick Hull trying to gain ground on Gary Lawrence. But there's your race leader, Ed Hayes. For once, he didn't get a bad start, and that's why he's leading the way by half the length of the Park Straight to this man, Richard Avery, that we go back on board with in the Camper Rent UK car. And Richard Avery running well in second position. That's how fast the Boxster is compared to the 924. He just catches and zooms past in a straight line before they even get to the braking zone for Park Corner, through Chris Curve and dropping down the hill towards the gooseneck. Absolutely sensational racetrack, this Cadwell Park. One of the most amazing circuits in Great Britain. Not a lot of overtaking opportunities, but a real challenge for the meteoric racing driver. Up through the mountain comes Ed Hayes, looking for his 6th win in a row. He's been unbeaten in 2017 and he'll want to keep the train going. Back on board with Lowry. Whoops! Ryan Lowry overshoots at the hairpin. Ed Hayes is about to get... Oh, Ed Hayes goes off! Goodness me, he actually runs over the curbs a little bit there. So that just shows you how tough it is. Even Ed Hayes is struggling in these damp conditions. The thing is, they're on slick tyres, so in the wet it's going to be tricky. But Ed Hayes is going to come through. He's on course for the victory. He's not there yet as he laps Peter Smith down the straight. But the circuit getting very, very slippy. Adam Southgate has caught Richard Avery. He's now going to try and make the move. Up the inside. He's got room into Coppice. Avery has to let him go. Great move from Southgate up into P2. So as Adam Southgate moves his way through Charlie's, he has got second position. Now, if only he'd got a good start, he might be a bit closer to Ed Hayes in terms of one lap pace. In qualifying, they were only 0.06 of a second apart. But Hayes has now got himself a gap. Mind you, he laps Ryan Lowry, but if he keeps making mistakes like the last one, Ed Hayes could well be caught in this race. The rain coming down, and Ed Hayes struggling for grip here at Cadwell. Mind you, so is everybody, especially considering they all started on slick tyres. Richard Avery still trying to gain ground again and get back past Adam Southgate. He breaks a little bit later for the gooseneck, and that's where he can try and gain ground as through Mansfield goes Ed Hayes. He won both races at Alton Park at a canter. He had to fight his way through to win the races at Silverstone with some dodgy starts, but now he has got himself together and it looks as though the package is working beautifully. He's got himself a car underneath him he knows he's confident with, but he says, you know, this is not going to be a dominant year. I'm not going to win every race this year. You could have fooled me. He's won all 5 of them so far, and at this point in time he's looking likely to win the 6th of the year as well. Richard Avery, meanwhile, struggling to keep up with Adam Southgate as they go through Hall Bends. But there is Ed Hayes, just cruising in the final few laps. He doesn't need to push. He just needs to keep the car in the straight line that he loves. And as he comes down the straight once again, he goes into the last lap. All he's got to do is hold it together. Southgate and Avery are definitely closer than they were before, but this is not a panic for Adam Southgate. It's not a panic for Richard Avery. And it's just a case of controlling the pace here for Ed Hayes out in front. We're on board with Pip Hammond as he comes up to lap Andrew Baker in the production class. He looks like he's going to get yet another victory in the production class over Matthew Harris. But Ed Hayes looking good for the victory here out in front. He won twice at Alton Park, he won all 3 at Silverstone, and now he's looking to try and clean up at Cadwell Park as well. He's just eased off the throttle. He made that mistake at All Bends, and obviously deciding, do you know what, it's not worth pushing. I've got to lead, I've got to keep it on the black stuff if I'm going to win a 6th in a row. So he keeps it nice and tidy through the gooseneck, drops down the hill. Very easy to lose it here at Cadwell, so he just keeps it together through Mansfield. No curve on the outside line. You don't want to be there in these conditions. If you hit the curbs, that's it, game over. And you will be chucked into the barriers on the outside. But up the mountain, all looking neat and tidy. It's all going very well indeed for Ed Hayes as he comes up and over the mountain, past the paddock, through Hall Bends, right, left. Plenty of curve needed with that one. Right again and left, and Ed Hayes has got 2 corners to negotiate before he makes it 6 in a row. Pip Hammond looks good for the victory in the 924s as well. He's got plenty of speed, plenty of gap, so he's going to take his 4th win in a row in the 924 class, but it's going to be 6 out of 6 for Ed Hayes. He's done it again. Brilliant race for Ed Hayes. Adam Southgate is a bold second place. If he had a few more laps, he might have caught him. Third place for Richard Avery. Ryan Lowry is going to come home in second position in the 924s. Peter Smith in the 18. Looks like he could get a podium in the 924 class as well for the first time this year, I do believe. So Pip Hammond, Ryan Lowry and Peter Smith will be a top three in the 924s. Hammond is going to have a great day at the office by the looks of things. He is still the class of the field in the 924s. Ryan Lowry has really come on strong, but here's Peter Smith out of the final turn at Cadwell Park. And what a result for him, third position. Hammond is your race winner. And a great result for him. Peter Smith comes home in third position as well. Great job, absolutely brilliant race. So it's Ed Hayes who wins it then from Adam Southgate in second. Avery is third from Gary Lawrence in fourth position ahead of Nick Hull, Andrew Porter, Alex Stocker. Kevin Molyneux recovers to eighth and Philip Churchill comes home in ninth position. In the production boxers, Andrew Baker manages to lap Matthew Harris on his way to another victory. And in the 924s, it's Hammond from Lowry and Smith with Gavin Johnson ahead of Jason Wood and Andrew Pritchard. Fastest lap, you guessed it, Pip Hammond again. Well, Ed Hayes, 6 races in, 6 victories, but I think there's a clear sign here at Cadwell that it isn't going to stay that way for long if this keeps going.
Absolutely not. I was just saying to Lee, it's getting harder each time, and I was a bit lucky there. I got a better than. My starts are very bad. They were sort of better than usual, but still not great. Adam cocked his up, so gave me a chance to get a little bit, but nobody was going anywhere from the mirrors. It's all pretty steady between the top 3.
And as a result of that, I'm guessing that you're having to kind of adjust how you're driving a little bit. You can't really settle it.
No, I just went full chat the whole time, and nobody disappeared, like I say. So it's quite tense.
So of course, later in the weekend we have the second race, and now that we know that it's going to be a lot closer, there might even be rain to deal with. So what's the game plan?
Game plan is try and get a good start, and if not, I mean, it's so hard to pass here. We'll just try and hang on to those two, or whoever passes me, and see where we go from there.
Okay, well, so far 100% unbeaten. Well done.
Looking tenuous.
We've only just got our breath back after that first race, and this time it was only a gap of 3 seconds to the flag, so that's much more where we want to be.
Yeah, it certainly was. I didn't get the best start, unfortunately. For once, Ed got a great start, I got a terrible one, so I was down to 4th place, chasing Gary Lawrence and Richard Avery. Lawrence was good enough to spin out my way down the gooseneck, and then chased down Avery and got past him up into the first corner. And then it started spitting with rain, and I knew Ed's a little bit cautious. I just threw cautions to win, and I think I was catching him second, 2 seconds a lap, but didn't quite have enough time in the end to get up there with him. But still, good fight back to second for me.
So perhaps a couple of tweaks to the setup, and you might be able to get him in the second race.
Yeah, exactly. I've done a couple of things overnight. If I get a good start, then I'm gunning for him today. He's not going to win every race this year.
That's what we like to hear, Adam. Congratulations on second. Well done.
Cheers.
So third position, Richard. It's great to see the car is back up to full chat again.
Yeah, luckily now the engine all seems good. Seems nice and strong anyway. But yeah, we had a good start. Ed obviously not have such a good start, and you're always relying here on the person in front to get a good start because it's so narrow. If they do fluff up, you've got nowhere to go. It's either the grass or just sit behind them. Sat behind Ed. Luckily, Adam had a bit of a fluff up on the start, so I sat behind Ed in second for quite a while. And then we just met up with back markers coming towards the end of the race. It was on the last lap, and then literally I got caught up behind a back marker and just gave Adam the legs to come past me on the start-finish straight. So we're looking for get on the front line.
But you're only 5 seconds behind the race winner in the race, so that's a pretty good sign of things to come.
Yeah, exactly. At least we know we're kind of on the pace. So you know, we're thereabouts. So hopefully the next time out we'll do it.
Well, over the last few weekends we've talked a lot about the 924 class and of course the race spec Porsche Boxsters. Well, we've also got a couple of production Boxsters in the running. Now usually we only get maybe 1 or 2, but this weekend we've got a bit of a race on between these two, and in particular with our new man to the championship, Matthew Harris. Now Matthew, this is your first ever weekend in this car. It's turning into quite an incredible one already.
First weekend and first time racing. So yeah, it's been a steep learning curve this weekend, especially here at Cadwell Park.
And you've ended up being pretty quick as well, we gather, in terms of your outright lap pace.
Yeah, I'm quicker on lap pace. I just need to put it all together for the consistency of the race, and hopefully I'll be challenging Andy there for top spot.
Now, obviously, being a production car, this is much closer based to the road spec of the car than it is to the race ones along the way, and you don't have the same aerodynamic capabilities that these cars have. So what's the big difference?
The big difference between this and the production car, or this and the race car?
Between the race car?
Between the race car, so they have the GT3 split ends, lighter alloys, they have the rear spoilers so they get more downforce. So although the engines are the same, they can put the power down a lot quicker around the corners. So when you see them together, they're quick.
And you guys racing together in this class, it's actually a tasty little fight between you guys, because even though you're a rookie, you've already got the measure of him by the look of things.
Yeah, it's a good battle, and there's a couple of 924s as well, so the first few laps are always interesting.
Okay, well, we wish you all the best for this one. Hopefully it'll be the top step at the end of the race. Good one.
Cheers.
So we're getting ourselves ready for the start of race 2. Obviously, we know now that in the race championship, it's tightening up. Everybody's starting to catch Ed Hayes, and even Pip Hammond isn't safe in the 924 class either. So we'll quickly dash over to the commentary box and get ready for an absolutely sensational second race here at Cadwell. So it's Hayes and Southgate on the front row again, with Avery and Lawrence on the second row. Nick Hull lines up alongside Andrew Porter on row 3, with Alex Stocker and Kevin Molyneux together on row 4, just ahead of Philip Churchill. In the 924s, it's Hammond and Ryan Lowry together on the front row of the grid, with Peter Smith and Gavin Johnson. Then it is Jason Wood and Andrew Pritchard, with Andrew Baker and Matthew Harris in the production cars behind them. Now, watch for Southgate off the start. If he gets a good one, then it could be game over for Hayes. And Southgate has got a flyer of a start. Avery's going to try and go with him as they head down to Comets for the first time. Avery's going to try and go right round the outside. Can he hold it? This is going to be very close indeed, and he's there. Brilliant start from Richard Avery. So Southgate leads. Avery's second. Hayes is down to third as the rest of the field goes through. No problem at all for Richard Avery. We ride on board with Ryan Lowry. That's Pip Hammond in front of us. He's just making sure. He looks as though his helmet's a little bit loose. That's a bit of a worry. So he'll just have to try and keep going regardless. Bit too late now. Here's Lawrence at the inside of Nick Hull. Now he's spun at the gooseneck in race 1. We didn't see it, but he now has a little bit of pressure on him as he tries to go for Nick Hull. Can't get the move done, so Hull remains in position. So Southgate leads. Avery's second. Ed Hayes is behind us, and this is Cadwell Park. He's going to really struggle to overtake them on this occasion. There's not a lot of room, and Southgate was the faster driver through various parts of the first race. So here comes Lowry making the move on the inside of Churchill, just as Hammond has done. That was a little bit too tight there for Lowry to get through. I suppose he realised that might have been his only chance to get through. Something sounded a little bit dodgy there for a moment. I hope he's not trailing too much bodywork. He hasn't had any accidents that we know about. Peter Smith and Gavin Johnson closing up to try and make a move on Churchill as well. We ride on board with Smith, up and over the mountain. Up the paddock straight. Once again, Kevin Molyneux's car parked off on the sidelines there. So Molyneux looks as though his race hasn't even started. That's a real shame. But Molyneux is out of this race already. Gavin Johnson rides up behind Peter Smith. Whoops! Ryan Lowry goes a little bit deep into the hairpin. The car sliding around a little bit as he goes through Barn. He needs to keep the car in a straight line if he wants to beat Pip Hammond today. Peter Smith has problems of his own trying to get away from Gavin Johnson. As they go down the straight once again. This fight between Smith and Johnson could be a really good one. Of course, Gavin Johnson has been the consistent man over the course of the last 3 weekends, and that's why he leads the championship. But Peter Smith is starting to be faster than him here at Cadwell Park. And Ryan Lowry and Pip Hammond are very much the faster men as well. Gavin Johnson trying to take as many tips as he can from his teammate Pip Hammond. The only reason really Hammond isn't leading the championship, of course, is because of that DNF at Alton Park in the first race when he battled with Rick Styron. But he looks set to take the lead of the championship here at Cadwell Park if he can continue to win races. There's Philip Churchill. Good to see him out for the first time in 2017 in the Porsche Boxster class. But the 924 front runners are up with him. So Peter Smith looking to try and get away. He just gives a little bit of a check in the rearview mirror. Where's Gavin Johnson? As he goes through the gooseneck. All looking okay, but the car is really responsive in the 924 class. You can chuck it about a little bit like a dirty great go-kart. As here are the leaders, Adam Southgate and Richard Avery. This is a rerun of Silverstone. These two out in front trying to get away from Ed Hayes. And this time they may have a chance to do it, especially if it starts raining again, because Southgate is a lot more confident in the wet conditions in these cars than Ed Hayes is. Ed Hayes slowed quite a lot in race 1, and that's how the gap came down to 3 seconds. But Southgate out in front. If he manages to get a gap on Avery, then I'm not sure Hayes is going to have a look in for the victory. Is this going to be the first time this year that Ed Hayes will not be a race winner? Everybody out there who isn't Ed Hayes is clearly hoping so. But Richard Avery running well there in the 6, in second position. He's actually a little bit closer to Southgate than he was on the last lap, so Avery hasn't given up a chance of the victory yet either. Up the park straight. And that looks to me like Southgate is actually coming off the racing line to try and cool the tyres down a little bit. Hull in 4th, Lawrence in 5th as we look over the crest of the hill. But Avery has got Ed Hayes right behind him. If you look in the left rear view mirror, you can see how close Ed Hayes actually is. He's right there, still swarming about, trying to put Richard Avery off. Down through the gooseneck. Plenty of grip there on the inside line as Avery again closes up on Southgate. The trouble is, he's got more speed off the turn, but the short straight to Mansfield isn't long enough for Avery to build up enough momentum to try and sling it up the inside line. So here again, still battling away as they go up the mountain once more. Great scrap in the Porsche Boxster Championship 2017. We've seen so many of these fights over the years, and this one has the potential to be a good one. Ed Hayes unbeaten so far this year, but down in 3rd position now. Avery 2nd. First is your leader, 45, Adam Southgate. Southgate's been threatening to win races all season long in terms of lap times. He was only 0.06 of a second slower than Hayes in qualifying. Now he's in the lead, he's got a chance, but Avery looks to be his equal at the moment. Ed Hayes is not far away either. Over the start-finish straight once again, up the run to Coppice. Southgate, Avery, Hayes. These are the 3 top drivers in 2017, and they are pushing it to the extreme here as Southgate tries to get away from Avery, who in turn is trying to drop Ed Hayes, but Hayes is not going to be defeated. If he's got a chance, he will try and get back on Avery, but yet again, it's that start. Ed Hayes admits it himself, he's not been very good at the starts this year. But again, he drops crucially to 3rd position, and that will stop his charge to go after the victory. He's still right there, so if Avery and Southgate get into the wars, he's got a chance to get the win again. But this one will be his toughest race yet. There's not a lot of room to overtake at Cadwell Park. He finds himself in 3rd, up against the 2 best opposition he has in the championship. Down through the gooseneck once again. And Southgate, look, just moves to cover, just the slightest on Richard Avery. It's only an inch or 2 further to the left, but it's good enough to keep Richard Avery at bay. He realises there's not enough room to get through. It's just a psychological game plan that Southgate plays here, and it's beautiful. Up the mountain once again. Southgate, Avery, Hayes, as they come up and over the crest. Over the mountain, and up towards Hall Bends once more. Great racing here at Cadwell Park. Now, we look back to 4th position. This is Lawrence versus Hull. Now, Lawrence made a mistake in race 1. We didn't see it, unfortunately, but he lost it at the gooseneck, and that is what allowed Southgate to get through into 3rd position to charge after Avery. But Lawrence now has problems defending from Nick Hull. The back end trying to come around, and Lawrence was very good there. Gary Lawrence to control the car. Looked as if it was going to start to snap away, but Gary felt it and was able to bring it under control before he even snapped away. That's really good car control from Gary Lawrence. But the racing's still very close here at Cadwell Park. The victory is still up for grabs between the leading 3 drivers, Southgate, Avery and Hayes, and 4th position still very much up for debate. Lawrence trying to get away from Nick Hull at the moment, though. In the 924s, it still looks as though it's going to be Pip Hammond from Ryan Lowry. Peter Smith hanging on in front of Gavin Johnson as the Porsche Boxsters go up Park Straight once again and into Park Corner. And it looks as though Drizzle is not going to play a part in this one, so it's all going to come down to that one word, intimidation. Back to the action here at Cadwell Park, and 3rd position in the 924 class still up for grabs. It's Gavin Johnson in front of Peter Smith. They've both got past Philip Churchill, and as they go towards Coppice, they're trying to close down on Ryan Lowry in 2nd in the 924 class. Hammond still leading it, but this is the race Boxster class, and it's Adam Southgate who leads the way over the mountain with Richard Avery 2nd and 3rd Ed Hayes. Looking likely that he's going to be beaten for the first time in 2017. Oh, bit of a mistake there from Avery. He got a little bit too much curb on the 2nd apex at Hall Bends, and now he's got to try and save the car. through the hairpin, that's a bit more like it, but look in the rear view mirror on the left-hand side of the car, you can just about see Ed Hayes there swarming around all over the place, and it looks like he's got a good exit off of Barn. He's about to go right, watch the rear view mirror, there is Hayes, he's going to come alongside and move up into second position on the straight, into Coppice, slams the door shut. That's a beautiful move from Ed Hayes as they continue on, with Hayes now in second place, Avery in third, Gary Lawrence behind them in fourth. So back on board with Avery. Look at how quickly Ed Hayes is getting away. That's absolutely incredible. I wonder if that was because Avery felt maybe there was a chance to get into turn one at Coppice and get back on the inside, and he suddenly realised, no, he's going to slam the door shut. I've got to snap on the brakes, and that is exactly how he's lost the ground. But, well, it's partly that, but also partly that he genuinely is closing in on Adam Southgate. There is nothing between them. In qualifying, they both managed to do a 138.4, I should say, Ed Hayes and Adam Southgate. It was a 138.43 for Ed Hayes, a 138.49 for Southgate. 600ths of a second between them on the front row of the grid, but now they're nose to tail, battling for the race victory, and Southgate is leading from Ed Hayes. This has happened before at Silverstone and at Alton Park, but on both occasions, Adam Southgate was eventually overhauled by Ed Hayes. It won't be so easy here at Cadwell Park. It's a tough circuit to get right, an easy one to get wrong, and there's very little room to overtake. Now they're closing up on Matthew Harris in the production Boxster class, who's going much faster in this second race than he was in race one. Up the inside goes Southgate, Hayes goes with him, and he's gained a lot of ground to do so. Avery goes through as well. Now this is a good opportunity for Hayes. If he can get the same sort of slipstream on Southgate that he did on Avery the last lap, he might be able to get through. But no, Southgate is very much wise to the manoeuvre. He's not going to let him get there. He knows that the outside line is faster, so he's going to stay there. He's not going to give Ed Hayes the satisfaction as they storm through once again towards Charlie's. Up to the inside of the corner. This is a good chance though. Ed Hayes has got a good run off of Charlie's up Park Straight. He's going to draw alongside, but look, Southgate's sending him to the left. That's going to be the longer line. And he's not going to get through there. Ed Hayes has to succumb to second position for the moment. This is going beautifully well. If your name is Adam Southgate, he's holding on to his position. And this is exactly where he needs to be. So he just continues to hold this pace. Avery in third, but look back, there's Gary Lawrence. Gary Lawrence is closing in on all three of them at the moment. So Southgate is holding Ed Hayes to ransom. Avery's trying to keep up with them, and Gary Lawrence is stepping on it, trying to close them down. So it could be a four-way scrap for the podium now. Southgate and Hayes up the mountain. Avery still there in third, Lawrence still there in fourth position, and they've got Andrew Baker in the leading production Boxster up in front of them. Nick Hull is still there in P5 for those who are interested. He's not far away from these guys, so if there is an incident, Nick Hull still has an opportunity to break into the top four. Definitely not done yet as Andrew Baker moves to the side through Barn and allows the race leaders to go through. That is the difference between the mechanical grip of the race spec Boxsters and the production spec. In terms of engine power, there's no difference at all. It's exactly the same engine, but the mechanical grip of the race spec car with the front splitter and the rear wing makes the car easier to get down on the power. So you're able to get a lot more speed out of the cars naturally. Now here we go again. Last lap they were side by side. Hayes has got a really good run out of Charlie's this time. And again, Southgate's going to send him to the left. They're going to be door to door as they go up to the braking zone for Park. Hayes is really quick down this straight. He's actually slightly in front of Southgate, but not for long. Southgate gets back on the inside. This is my race, Ed. Try something else, bucko. I'm going to win this one. He's working so hard to keep in front of Ed Hayes, who has won every race this year. But now Southgate wants to taste the victory, and now he senses that here at Cadwell Park, the mini Nürburgring, it's very tough to pass, and if he makes his car wide enough, he will be the victor. Now that is the 42 they're lapping, the 924. Jason Wood, who for this weekend is using the championship winning car in the 924 class from 2016, driven by Linda Warren, who had a brilliant campaign to win the 924 class championship last year, and then promptly decided to retire as the champion in the same sort of fashion as Alain Prost and Nico Rosberg did in Formula One, of course. Now here is Ed Hayes again, challenging Adam Southgate into Barn turn once more. Hayes is looking very determined to get back past Adam Southgate. But once again here at Cadwell Park, it's the start that has really caused an issue. Gary Lawrence goes off just behind Richard Avery and Gary Lawrence battling away over third position, and Lawrence has gone off the road and damaged the front splitter. So Gary Lawrence's chances of getting third position off Richard Avery just took a massive hammer blow. He's going to have less grip. Meanwhile, Peter Smith is trying to get alongside Gavin Johnson round the outside up at Park, down to Chris Kerb, and these three drivers are running away together. That is a great run so far for Gavin Johnson and Peter Smith. I think they've just lapped Andrew Pritchard. Here they come once again. Peter Smith in the Adrenaline Zone car. Cannons his way out of the gooseneck, really pushing Gavin Johnson, trying to make this work. But Gavin Johnson is not going to be intimidated as they come out of Mansfield, down the short stretch, through the quick left flick. Barely a movement on the wheel. And then they come down to the mountain. Through the left, you've got to nail this one right if you want to get the right straightened up. And up the crest of the hill, Peter Smith still charging after Gavin Johnson as they come down towards Hall Bends. Right curb. Left curb, right curb again. Got to knit that so beautifully through the right, left at the Hall Bends. And then here comes Adam Southgate and Ed Hayes once again. They've really dropped Richard Avery this time. He's well and truly gone from the battle for the victory, but he's hanging on in front of Gary Lawrence. These two have definitely got a good, strong pace together. This is Pip Hammond leading the way on home soil here, looking for win number 5 in a row. Whoops, 2 wheels on the grass. Come on, Pip, don't fall asleep at the wheel, mate. This is a very difficult track to get right. And he's having a cruise control drive in the countryside by his current standards. Loving the Cadwell Park circuit, running out in front, having a good race, and looking like he's on a march to the championship lead here at Cadwell Park. Here is Southgate and Hayes, still having a good race. But Adam Southgate wanting to get further and further away from Ed Hayes. He laps Philip Churchill as they go onto the far side of the Park Straight. And I think Ed Hayes is not quite close enough yet to challenge, but if he keeps pushing around the lap, he's going to get a chance. Through Park, continuing the climb through Chris. Now it starts to drop as they go down towards the gooseneck. Very easy to get this wrong. Through the right, through the left, and then down the short drop to Mansfield. And Ed Hayes is right back on Adam Southgate again. So close between these two. I have a feeling these guys will be battling for the championship, and if it finishes like this, of course, Ed Hayes is going to be 10 points ahead of Adam Southgate in the championship standings, so it's still all to play for. Up the hill once more, and Adam Southgate is going to be very interested to see where Ed Hayes can make a move for him. I'm not sure he's got the space all the time yet. They're very evenly matched for pace. I'm not so sure this is going to work out in the favour. And obviously Adam Southgate will want to get this victory under wraps, because at Snetterton next time out on the straight lines of the 300 circuit, it's going to be really difficult to get this kind of pace over him. But the checkered flag flies, and it is a win for Southgate. Ed Hayes has been beaten. Adam Southgate wins in the Porsche Box, the race class. Ed Hayes in second place, and here comes Pip Hammond. The winning streak continues in the 924 class as he makes it 5 wins in a row. But Adam Southgate has finally beaten Ed Hayes. Avery comes home in 3rd position ahead of Gary Lawrence. Nick Cole is in 5th ahead of Andrew Porter. Alex Stocker 7th from Philip Churchill. Sadly a non-start for Kevin Molyneux. Richard Avery is the fastest man of the race. Andrew Baker beats Matthew Harris over the line in the production Boxster battle. And in the 924s, Pip Hammond wins it from Ryan Lowry in the Maluto.com car, with Gavin Johnson in the 2nd PDC Racing car 3rd ahead of Peter Smith. And in the championship standings, Ed Hayes now leads the standings by 10 points to Adam Southgate, with Richard Avery 3rd ahead of Lawrence Hull, Stocker, Porter, Molyneux, James Coleman and Philip Churchill in the top 10. Very close indeed between Avery, Lawrence and Hull in the battle for 3rd position. Andrew Baker leads the standings in the production class ahead of Matthew Harris. And now Pip Hammond goes to the top of the table in the 924 class, with Gavin Johnson, Ryan Lowry and Carl Rossin very close together for points. Smith is 5th ahead of Philip Waters, with Stephen Potts, Jamie Callender, Rick Styron and Andrew Pritchard in the top 10. So a very interesting end to the race then, as Adam Southgate, come and join us. Adam, first win of the season. Finally the deadlock to that man is broken and you're on the top step of the podium. Good job.
Absolutely, yeah, it's been a long time coming trying to beat that boy, but yeah, I got a better start than Ed. I think I had Rich up behind me at the start of the race, and then it was just a couple of quick laps to try and break away from the pack, and then just about what felt like 3 hours of defending, I think it was. So yeah, really good race. These boys drove brilliantly.
And it was really tough in the early stages as well, because Richard very nearly had you on various points in the opening stages of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's lucky that Cadwell's a difficult track to overtake, otherwise I think they'd finished third, to be honest. These boys are great. But yeah, it's just about kind of defensive, careful driving to bring it home. I just needed a win, so yeah, glad I got one.
Fantastic, Adam. Well done. Congratulations.
Cheers, thanks a lot.
Right, second position, Ed Hayes. That's the first time this year you've been second on the podium, but that's not bad going in terms of championship points.
No, it's great, I think, but yeah, bad start again, and here it's just a bit harder to get round, and these guys were going like stink, so yeah, good fun.
And obviously next time out it's going to be an interesting challenge again, because there's going to be lots of opportunities to overtake, not just 1 or 2 places.
At Snetterton? Yeah, looking forward to that, like Snetterton, so have a good go there. Triple header, I think, as well, so should be another exciting one.
So as long as you get a good start there, they might not see you in the on the long straights.
Getting a good start is like 1 in 10, so I don't expect to get a good.
Okay, well done, Ed. Fantastic job today. Third position, Richard Avery. Great to see that the car is back on form again, and so close to your first win of the year yourself.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely hard work. Start, obviously, Ed fluffed the start up a bit. Luckily, so did Gary next to me, so I just followed Adam through. I think I gave it my absolute all in the first 3 quarters of that race, and towards the end I was just like completely finished. Bit fatigued, and the car was like fatigued as well. But then, yeah, Ed come past on the straight. But it's, you know, well done to these guys, and obviously it's nice to see Ed, you know, knocked off the top as well. So, yeah, it's good.
So your championship campaign is back on again now that the car is all sorted, and hopefully next time at Snetterton we'll see you on the top step, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. I'm doing all season, so I'm hoping to, you know, get in front of these guys a bit more often. But like Adam says, this track is so tight. If you can get close, but to get an overtake is almost near impossible. Apart from the start finish straight, obviously Ed took me.
Fantastic job, Richard, and great to see you on the podium again. Well done.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers.
Pip Hammond, 2 races here at Cadwell Park and 2 victories. It's going absolutely beautifully at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it out there. There's a lot more grip than yesterday. It was a bit drier today, so just being able to crack on and try and bang some lap times in. I didn't. My data logger wasn't working, so I don't know what the times were. Just hoping I got the fastest lap point as well for that one. So
Ryan Lowry, another good strong run there at Cadwell Park, and another second place. Lots of good points this weekend.
Yeah, definitely seems to be back on form, so it's good to, you know, 2 second places, you know, I'll take that. There was no catching Pip this weekend, so you know, I'll just have to see how we go on for the rest of the season. But no, it was a good race. Pip got the jump on the start, followed him round. We both got past the full fat Boxster, and then pretty much Pip just edged away a little bit. I pulled a gap on the guys behind, and yeah, so it worked out well.
So after 6 wins in the 2017 championship, Ed Hayes has finally been beaten. But as far as the team is concerned, that's the only time it's going to happen. We head now to Snetterton in Norfolk, where we're pretty sure the battle will be raging. See you soon.